shop dog is in her happy place in the shade, and Eric is back over here again this morning, and we're gonna do some more work on his 135. So tell us what we got here today, Eric.
All right, got the Evolution Racewerks competition cooler. It's their dual oil cooler setup on here. So this is just their kit, and it comes with all the AN lines and all that stuff, and the actual cores and brackets and shrouds and whatnot in there. So in the instruction manual it says you end up using about 8 quarts of oil. I think stock is 7, just under 7. I have 9 here just in case. And then we're gonna drain the oil to make this hopefully a little bit less messy, and do an oil change at the same time.
So we're gonna start out by draining the oil. The instructions don't say you have to, but we need an oil change on this thing anyway. So got the QuickJacks here to make all work on this much easier. All right, we're just gonna start by taking off some belly pans under here.
It's just a bunch of 8mm.
So we just got this out. Now we're gonna drain the oil.
All right, so drain plug's here. This car's a 17. Let's see how good my aim is today.
Oh, well done.
That's one of the rare times.
So this is what it looks like underneath, where we're going to be modifying things. On the passenger side of the car over there is currently where the oil cooler is, and we're adding a second one over on the driver's side where there's nothing right now. So it will extend the cooling capacity. At this point we took the front bumper off, but I put all of that in a separate video because I'm sure some people just want to know how to take the bumper off and not do all of the rest of this stuff. So if you don't know how to take the front bumper off, check out the link here and then come back and follow along. So let's see where the fog light would be if you had fog lights, a little duct for your brakes. So if you're gonna do this upgrade and you have fog lights, I think you're gonna lose your fog lights. Next, we're gonna remove the ducting that's just held on by 4 T20 bolts.
If you had the stock airbox still, you would just need to undo the clips for this little accordion. So now we have access to the oil filter housing, and then that's where the lines for the oil filter are.
Right, now we have to disconnect these lines. I put some rags down there because some oil is going to drip. And supposedly it's a 13mm bolt.
Yeah, it's right in between the 2 lines.
All right, we're going with the new 13mm socket that has thinner walls.
Yeah, that works a lot better. There's a whole lot of room to turn into it though.
I'm going to attach it to the power one now.
Work it in.
Yeah, much easier. And it didn't dump oil all over my tool, so that's good too.
Yes. See what happens when you pull that. The line's out back. Besides that bolt, I think there's just 2 O-rings. There we go.
Yeah, instructions say be gentle with the O-rings because we're going to reuse them.
That is definitely oil coming out now.
Yeah, it's not a ton though. But you definitely want rags down there. So it was 4, and then there was some connected to the coolant itself, I thought. The cooler. So we're going to take this shroud off now. Some 8mm bolts. Right here. There's one right down. One right down here.
So this one's just got a pin and then another pin that slides into this guy up here. So just pull out. Is there one more on there? Right here. Alright, let's take the ducting off.
Ta-da! All right, next step is we're gonna actually remove the factory one here, and it's just one 10mm bolt on this bracket, and then two 13mm nuts. And they say to be careful as you pull the lines through to get it out, because they are of course filled with oil. Put any emergency oil catch can here to try to catch some of this.
Try and get it all out and throw it in there. So this is a 10mm here. You got two 13mm nuts. Do you want to be careful with these brackets because you're gonna reuse the stock one on this side.
Try to help feed it from the top. Yeah, it's caught there. It's just caught here. You want to wrap that up in cloth. We'll make shift bandage for this thing.
She's out.
Victory. Okay, we're gonna remove the bracket because we're gonna reuse it. And as you can see, there are Tamper T20 bolts on there. And I just happen to be lucky and have a Cobalt kit of little things that has one of these on there. So if you're gonna do this, make sure you have a TT20.
So we're gonna rob a few things off the stock setup. I'm gonna take this bracket off, and these rubber grommets need to come out as well. And on the adapter that we pulled earlier, we're gonna have to reuse these O-rings. It's easier if you pull the metal sleeve out first from the middle, and then these should pull right through the hole after that. So we'll save those. Hopefully they look okay. Just inspect them real quick. Had I known, I would have probably just ordered new parts.
So the instructions say that the next step is to remove this here. That requires drilling out a couple of rivets, 2 screws on the top and the bottom. And this is a rivet that you have to drill out. And on the driver's side, the rivet is up top through this hole. So that's what we'll be taking off next. All right, we just have a long socket extension and a 13mm to remove these 4 nuts. All right, they recommended a 1/4 inch drill bit, so that's what we have here. And you're just supposed to drill out the bottom rivets.
It's kind of dirty back here, so this one was hiding. But there she is. That was quick.
And on top there's a little support bar held on by a T30 that we're gonna remove. All right, we just got back from Home Depot and bought this really long drill bit because this side has a rivet at the top and bottom. The passenger side only had one at the bottom. The instructions only mentioned drilling out the one from the bottom on both sides, but there's no way to take this off if we don't take the top one off too, so we're gonna drill that out. All right, we finally got that rivet off from in here. Here's the bracket. The rivet was right here. And when we started drilling it, the rivet was just spinning. And once we finally realized that, we had to pull the bracket up from the bottom to put enough tension on it, the rivet, so that it wouldn't spin, and then we could finally drill through it. So that was a pain.
So here is the driver's side oil cooler. Since there's nothing there already from factory, the Evolution Racewerks kit comes with this bracket right here. So basically these 2 holes are gonna go on the studs that the bumper support rode on. So you can see one of them right here and the other one's up there. it goes in between the radiator support and the chassis. So we're just gonna stick it up in there. There we go. And it's hitting the headlight. Sweet.
Looks like the notch goes back behind it.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Just barely.
Yeah.
Behind the headlight. So this bracket, we put this back on in there as well.
Yeah, but this goes in front, so. Yeah. Maybe the horn doesn't go back on. There's no way that would clear the wool. So we might have to find a new place for these guys.
Okay, so with this new one in, these brackets are supposed to probably go back where they used to be, but there's zero instructions about this or the horns, and they will hit the cooler and not be able to go back on. So we're gonna try to undo them and flip the horns around so they're on the other side of the bracket. See if that does anything. All right, so we tried that idea. One of the horns hit this, so we tried to take that off. Only have one horn, but then it seems like the bracket with this new bracket is too thick for there to be enough threads to lock this back down. So goodbye, horn. All right, don't forget to reattach this. All right, here's the grommets from the old one. We're gonna stick them back in here. Piece of tape off. It's covered. It's coming.
There we go. I had to take this plug out first. I just kind of went from behind and pushed it out and then worked it out.
Now we got a square hole.
So you can see I'm having a hard time turning it by my hand once it's in there. So a 10mm actually fits around this insert, I guess. So we use this to try and turn it 90 degrees.
Oh, there we go.
There's a nice snap, and just make sure it's sitting flush against the frame rail.
Okay, so we think that bracket is supposed to go in here and then attach into this new thing we did, but
Kind of backing it up, it's
the hole is not even close over there. So unless this bends a whole lot, which maybe it's supposed to, I don't know, we'll see. Let's mount it to the top here first, I guess. Okay, we got this bracket attached. We had to take the washers off so that they would be long enough to mate with the nut. And here's our dilemma. Do we push this and bend the bracket back?
It's still about an inch off if we do that.
Oh yeah, it's still like, yeah, not even close over there.
Well, that angle looks a lot better for the bumper.
Yeah, because right now this doesn't look like it's gonna fit inside the bumper. It's sticking out so far. All right, so what we decided to do is just put that screw in the bracket while everything else was disconnected, and we loosened these because they are slotted, so it helps everything slide around some. And then we maneuvered it to where this first one will line up just by pulling on it and stretching it. And now we're gonna do the next one for the bracket down and tighten these two guys back up. All right, so Eric noticed that this seems to have slid over to the right, and yeah, we can see on camera now that that locating pin is not sticking through the hole anymore, but it's really tight and it's not moving anywhere. And if it didn't slide over there, we wouldn't have gotten this bracket on there. So I guess we're just gonna go with that.
She's solid. There is one on this side. This OEM one uses the same little insert thing.
Oh, interesting. So maybe that thing is there for left-hand drive cars?
Yeah.
At least in the picture of your instruction diagram.
Okay.
They were on the front like that.
Does this go?
Bracket goes back on top there, I guess.
This? Yeah. Okay.
Ta-da.
So grommets are in. This is this factory bracket. So we just use their supplied hardware. The original hardware isn't gonna work. So now that the brackets are back on and the grommets, we're gonna use the factory hardware that we pulled off the original oil cooler.
That's why the bolt is so long, so it can act like a handle for you.
Yes. So get the rubber grommets through these studs. And then the 13mm nuts go on them. And this goes, line this up with the alignment pin.
All right, these were a pain and excessively long.
Yes. So we got the 10mm tightened, and then we're just gonna tighten these 13s.
All right, comes with a new adapter.
Yeah, it just adapts from the stock to AN fittings. And it'll attach the same way. But we saved the O-rings from the factory cooler, so they look okay. So we're gonna slide them back on. Hope they don't leak. All right.
Rub a little oil on them so they don't pinch, I guess.
Yeah. Steal some from this.
Yeah. Should have plenty.
All right. So I think I'm gonna try and work this in before I hardware in. Shouldn't matter what side. There's not a whole lot of room behind here. Okay, careful not to pinch the O-rings. Right. And it's gonna unfortunately take a long time then.
All right, here's our two short ones.
So yeah, you'll notice one of them has a 90 on one side and a 45. And then the other short one has 90 and 90. So they'll go on each side. Okay, the first one is...
All right, so the 45-degree one is going to attach here and go to the passenger side. And it's going to attach to the inner one, we assume. The only thing the directions mention is that the long one goes from the outer to the outer connection of the two.
Slide this guy through the way the factory line was run. I think it goes through this hole.
And it says to be very careful and only hand thread these at first, because if you strip them, you're in big trouble.
Yes, and bold on the instructions. And all the fittings are aluminum too, so they don't have to be manhandled on there. Also strip them.
Okay, so that routing did not work at all. So we decided that if we route it up through here, and then under those pipes over there.
Yeah, just follows the frame rail over here.
Then we can make it long enough to get over here.
Plenty of room.
Okay, for the driver's side, I just found an area down here that I could jam it up through.
Yeah, it's kind of in between the lower charge pipe and the front air intake. So right
There it is. So we weaseled it through here, and it's just barely long enough. For the outside line, what we did is we just tucked it under there. They suggest zip tying it to the sway bar. Sway bar is kind of far away over there, but we'll see what we can do to make sure that's not in the way of putting the panels back on. Okay, we learned to get some AN wrenches. That's what they say to use in the directions, but we can't find any anywhere. So we're gonna do it the janky way with some channel locks, and hopefully we don't break anything. All right, seemed to work pretty well. They're on there, snug. All right, we're just gonna put a couple zip ties around the middle line that goes all the way across and zip tie it to the, what are we zip tying it to?
That is the front sway bar.
Okay, there's the sway bar over there.
That's what they recommended, so hopefully it doesn't rub through these lines with all the rotation.
Okay, we put a new filter in while we're doing this and adding oil, getting ready for the moment of truth.
Good.
All right, moment of truth. All right, we're leaving the car running so that it will flip the thermostat and start circulating this to make sure we have enough oil. But I just wanted to show you, man, that is tight. They used every centimeter to get this in, and we're gonna have to cut the fender liner for it to fit in there. All right, so that's it. It is done. The instructions said it would take about 2 hours. I call BS. It took at least 6 or 7 hours. And we did have to make a couple of runs to buy some tools, but that time wasn't even including all of that. So if you're going to install one of these things, have some time set aside, and hopefully this video will help you. And if so, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'm sure Eric's going to do some more crazy stuff to his car soon, and you'll be able to follow along.